What's up, everybody? Welcome to another primary source walkthrough. This time we have Samuel Morse and his fears of a Catholic conspiracy from 1835. All right, let's lay this out. Number one, let's talk about the author himself. We'll talk a little bit about Samuel Morse, just kind of identify who he was. Um, Number two, let's lay out the context for this document, and then we'll jump into the actual content. And this one's pretty easy to unpack. Um, so let's jump in. All right, who is Samuel Morse? Samuel Morse is best known for his invention of the telegraph. Uh, he's probably one of the people who most deserves credit for that invention. If you've heard of Morse code before, Morse is the Morse in Morse code. Um, if you've never heard of Morse code before, I don't know what to tell you. Look up what it is. It's a bunch of short and long beeps, and it says things. I don't know how to read Morse code. In any case, Samuel Morse, is very worried about Catholicism. Catholicism has always had a tenuous presence in the United States, even though there are a lot of Catholics in the U.S. now. At the beginning, the founding of this nation, Catholicism really wasn't welcome here. Maryland is a good kind of counterexample. It is a Catholic colony, but for the most part, um, the the early Americans really had no time for the Catholic Church. And think about who was coming over here. You have the Puritans in New England. The guys who are going to Virginia, the Carolinas, and Georgia. They're all kind of Protestanty guys. They're not Puritans by any stretch of the imagination, but they're not Catholic, and very much not so. And one of the things that Protestants always worry about is the Catholic need to answer to the Pope, um, and this bears out in American history. We don't get a Catholic president until 1960, and one of the arguments against John F. Kennedy and other Catholics who ran before him was, well, will he actually be the president of the United States, or will he just be a proxy for the Pope? And that's I think those are unfounded fears, but nevertheless, also we can see this appeal to anti-Catholicism used kind of bad faithfully in this fight over Amy Coney Barrett and her pending appointment to the Supreme Court. Um, that's a can of worms I'm not really willing to open right now. But it's really interesting to see a bunch of evangelical Protestants criticize people for being anti-Catholic when most of them consider that Catholicism isn't Christianity, even though it is. But that's a conversation for a different time. In any case, that's some of the background. But why is Samuel Morse worried about Catholicism in 1835? Well, as you know, the United States is undergoing some pretty big changes, and those changes have a lot to do with industrialization. We read about the market revolution this week. We read, about factories coming here and things like spinning jennies and cotton gins and all those sorts of things. And there needed to be a labor pool to staff these factories. And it happened that over in Europe, things weren't going so well. There was a bit of there were a couple crises. namely the Irish potato famine, if we're going to talk about Irish immigration. And so people were coming over here attracted by jobs in these factories. And if you read Loom and Spindle this week, you'll know that for a while, really young women, 12, 13 years old, were working these factory jobs. But as more immigrants come over and need this work, they are the ones who are taking those jobs. Now, when they are coming from Ireland, this presents a problem for a lot of people. The Irish were not well regarded, really, by anybody. They were not considered fully white, believe it or not. Even though now we kind of think as Irish as like the quintessential whiteness in a lot of ways. Who's whiter than a pale Irish person? That's silly, but it's in our kind of cultural discourse. They're coming over, and one of the things is, unlike somebody from Britain, and unlike somebody from Germany, or unlike somebody from the Netherlands or whatever, they're Catholic. And this presents another problem. And with all of this change, really kind of apocalyptic change in the United States, where the world seems to be ending and a new one emerging, with industrialization, people are unsettled by this. I mean, consider the United States right now. Like, why does something like that conspiracy theory that starts with a Q, why does that bring comfort to so many people? Why are people so invested in that conspiracy theory? And it's because the world doesn't make any sense to them. And that conspiracy theory provides answers that seem to explain a world that is not understandable. And people are willing to jump through whatever logical gymnast hoops they can to find that kind of comfort and meaning in the world where it doesn't seem like there is any meaning. Consider that for a minute. I mean, like, some of the stuff out there in conspiracy land is just absolutely... It speaks of a reality that I don't know. I mean, the reality of something like Pizzagate, for example. Like, that is so cuckoo bananas. I just don't understand it. I mean, I understand it, but like I don't know how somebody could look at the world, see the evidence of the world, and come to the conclusion that that is true. In any case, that's kind of what's going on with Samuel Morse here. And he is going to refer to Catholicism throughout the document as popery, spelled this way. Now, this isn't the good-smelling stuff that you put in the bathroom to cover up somebody's stinky poop. This is Catholicism. Pope. Oh, my hand is huge. So, Pope. That's the key word. Now, jumping into the document, Samuel Morse says that there have been some official documents published lately that put this beyond dispute. And the writer of these official documents has evidence. Now, Samuel Morse doesn't tell us what these official documents are. I don't know what the documents are. I've never seen them. He could be fabricating them completely. But what he says that they say is that there are all of these nobles and gentlemen of different countries, foreign governments, priests and other ecclesiastics, bishops, deacons, archbishops, whatever, of the Catholic faith, and they're all really wanting one thing. They want to destroy our democratic Republican government. Okay, that's what they're up to. That they want, or the writer says, that a cause was in operation which would surely overthrow our institutions and gradually bring us under a form of government less obnoxious to the pride and less dangerous to the existence of the antiquated despotic systems of Europe. So what he's saying essentially is Europe's trying to take us over. We're really scared of this, and the Catholic Church is kind of at the vanguard of this. Now, he goes on. He says, by one, I am permitted to say that the celebrated naturalist... I'm sorry, my camera does not want to cover it all. The celebrated naturalist, the late Baron Cuvier, known also as a zealous Protestant, okay, he's not a Catholic guy, inquired of him with marks of concern if it were indeed true that popery had made such progress in the United States as to cause the exultation among the legitimates in Europe. So are Europeans excited, these European leaders, are they excited about the progress that Catholicism is making in the U.S.? He added this pertinent remark: they will be hammer or nails, sir, they will persecute or be persecuted. And continues, these facts may be of such importance in aid of the other proofs of conspiracy which these numbers unfold, as to show that among the various higher classes of Europe, the enterprise of a popish crusade in this country is not only a subject of notoriety, but is viewed with great interest and is considered as having a most important political bearing. So what he's saying here is, I got all the evidence, even though he doesn't give us the receipts, that the Catholic Church wants to take over America. And that the Catholic rulers of Europe and the Pope, especially the Pope himself, want to make sure that Catholicism takes over the United States. Now, if you are reading this and you are going, bro, what the F? I'm with you. He has not laid out any evidence here. He's kind of talking about hearsay. And he's like, I've got these official documents. They say so. Oh my God. He doesn't tell us what they are. It just says that they're official documents. If he was trying to really prove something, he would tell us what official documents they are. Name them. I don't even know where to start looking. They probably don't exist. It's like, but his emails. Maybe somebody flew across the country because it's 1835, but hitched a ride across the country to go to a pawn shop to drop off a laptop, drunk as hell, and forgot to wipe the hard drive. Maybe that's what he's talking about. Oh, wait, that's too modern a parallel. Sorry about that. Let's move on. In any case, now he's going to enter some pretty familiar territory to us. And this is why I keep making references to the present, because I see so many parallels. Now, he tells Americans, you sleep upon a mine, meaning an explosive device. This is scarcely a figure of speech. You have excitable materials in the bosom of your society, which skillfully put into action by artful demagogues will subvert your present social system. You have a foreign interest too, daily, hourly, increasingly ready to take advantage of every excitement, and which will be shortly beyond your control, or will be subdued only by blood. It's almost too late, and we're getting to the point where it's going to take massacre and war to end this. Now, whose fault is this? Why don't you know any better? To increase your peril, you have a press that will not apprise you of the dangers that threaten you. We can reach you with our warnings only through the religious journals. The daily press is blind, asleep, or bribed, or afraid. Blaming the media. Bro, this was almost 200 years ago. And we are saying the same stuff now. Oh, the press is lying to you. Only trust these presses. Only trust these outlets. They're the only ones that are telling you the truth. Spend a day on Twitter, you will see this argument. I don't even think you need a day. How about an hour? Maybe even 30 minutes. He continues. The press is silent on this subject, and thus is throwing the weight of its influence on the side of your enemies. Foreign spies have clothed themselves in a religious dress, and so awestruck are our journalists at its sacred texture, or so unable or unwilling to discern the difference between the man and his mask, they start away in fear, lest they should be called bigoted or intolerant or persecuting, if they should venture to lift up the consecrated cloak that hides a foreign foe. We say the same shit now. We really do. You don't think so? Think about the way in which one aspect of our political culture talks about Islam, talks about Muslim people in our country. Oh, people won't criticize Islam. The press won't criticize Islam because if they do, they're worried about being called bigoted or intolerant or persecuting. I see this argument all the time. All the time. And it's frustrating, honestly, to know that people were saying the same sort of thing in 1835, almost 200 years ago. I just want you to chew on that for a little bit. He continues to drag the press. Americans, if you depend on your daily press, you rely on a broken reed. It fails you in your need. It dare not attack popery. It dare not drag into the light the political enemies of your liberty because they come in the name of religion. There's a lot to unpack here. And we could continue to go down this road of talking about how these critiques of the press, these attacks on the press, have, kind of been in our cultural discourse for the last 200 years. Sorry, 185 years. Whatever. We could go that route. But let's think about 1835 for a little bit more. And think about the way in which, if you are a person like you are now, just kind of your common, average, everyday person, you work a 9 to 5, or you have a 40-hour-a-week job, you're struggling to make things work, and you barely get by, and the world seems to be changing. You can't understand it, or there's parts of it that you can't understand, or that are confusing or make you afraid. One of the things that people reach for is they reach for things like this to kind of explain it. It's a whole lot easier for the human brain to be like, okay, well, I know it's because these Catholics are coming over from Ireland, and they're taking all these jobs and they're making my life harder. It's so much easier to connect to that than it is to say, well, there are this new kind of economics and this technology is doing this. It's harder. It's harder to do that sort of thing. So what I'm trying to get at is it's really easy for the human brain to go apocalyptic when the apocalypse isn't necessarily at hand. And that's kind of what Samuel Morse is doing here. He's saying, look, there's this sketchy evidence that he doesn't think it's sketchy. He thinks it's legit. There's this evidence that suggests that the Catholic Church and Europe is trying to take over America. And the press won't tell you about it because they don't want to criticize religious people. I can understand how his brain gets to this point. I can't understand why, he would look at I can't understand how all the pieces fit together, but I can see how he might put this kind of weird, distorted Picasso-in puzzle together. In any case, this is a document that should help kind of explain the cultural anxieties of the market revolution, and something that you should consider as an artifact of that. In any case, we're at about 20 minutes, so I'm going to go ahead and sign off. If you have questions about Samuel Morse, if you have questions about Catholicism in the 1830s and the Market Revolution, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. Happy to answer your questions. Otherwise, stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you on the next one.